We acknowledge that Tri-Cities Community Television operates on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Coquitlam First Nation. We thank the Coquitlam who continue to live on these lands and care for them along with the waters and all that is above and below.
Following the presentation of the Freedom of the City of Coquitlam on March 9th, the Coquitlam City Council moved into its regular public meeting at City Hall. During the session, Council reviewed advisory committee minutes and approved several 2026 work plans. Tri-Cities Community TV's local journalism initiative was there and brings you this report. I'm Yuna Fahim.
Next item on the agenda is the report of General Manager Planning and Development application at 2660 Barnett Highway, and the recommendation is on screen.
Move for second.
Moved by Councilor Martin, second by Councilor Hodge.
Yeah, thank you. Support this.
We will at first reading and talk about it, and I do see that this is a CD. What I would like to hear back from staff on is, given that you found the similarities you did between the rezoning and this, I'm curious as to future would be looking to amend the bylaw, the zoning bylaw, to ensure these future ones don't have to be, assuming it passes council, would assume we want to see it going because it's a CD. They should be included and enshrined in the bylaw so you don't have to write. Thanks. I know some of the I said goodness.
Okay, so raise a good conversation. And Councilor Asmus.
Yeah, thank you. Questions through to staff. Staff chose to go to M1 zone rather than D2 urban zone. And can you explain what the difference is in unit size if they stayed with the D2 urban enterprise rather than the M1 zone? Because the other one require more parking spaces. So what would the difference in units be between the two?
Yes, through the chair to Councilor Asmussen. So the project is a little over 100,000 square feet, and right now meets the industrial bylaw parking requirement of 1 space per 100 square meters of floor space. If the project had to be designed to meet the commercial parking requirement for 40 square meters of floor space, the building, and we're assuming it's all at grade still, the building would have to shrink by about 40%, so they would have lost 40,000 square feet of constructible area.
So that's where I have my problem with this applicant, is in the fact that they were advised by, they could have done the D2 urban business enterprise, putting in a proper amount of parking for it. They chose not to. The market changed. They didn't come back or requested through channels to change their zoning to this, which has turned out to it doesn't have adequate parking. So I'm very concerned about this, that they went to a zone that gives them 40% more unit space, but now wants some, and I give staff credit for their looking at this application and saying, okay, you've got problems, you're not leasing this out, and so we'll find something they could go into it. I have problems with doing things like this under this zone that aren't present policy. I would rather council have a debate on that policy before we move this through. So because of those concerns I have and that type of, I worry about setting precedents and other people pulling the same type of thing where they don't go for the D2 urban business enterprise, they go because they get more units, more leasable space, but they want to turn around and use it for those same type of uses. I don't believe in supporting this for first reading because of that. We'll see how it goes, but that's one of my biggest concerns on this type of game, I guess, I want to say game of how this has played out with that. I mean, if they stayed with it at 40% less, would have fit the zone and worked properly for them. They got themselves into a situation, now they want to serve best foot forward. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mazzaro.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Stewart. A few questions for staff here. So I read the report, I read it twice, because I'm trying to, I appreciate the bit of the background and the history that was provided on page 205, but I think I want more of what happened here, sort of more or less. So what, the applicant came forward, they divided the land, etc. And was it is it currently in the OCP that when the applicant purchased the land, that this was to be changed to business enterprise? Or was it still industrial? What was it at the time?
Through the Chair, Councilor Mazzarolo, so I don't have the specific date the applicant purchased the property at the fingertips right now. However, the OCP was amended with the city center area plan in 2020 to change the land use installation to business enterprise, which was 2 years before they submitted the development application.
Okay. What, and when the development application came forward, I see there's a paragraph in that on page 2 here. Did the staff, I understand they communicated, but was it pretty adamant to this applicant? The vision here is business enterprise. This is where we want, this is the future that we see the city going in this direction. This is what it would allow. Was that communicated to the applicant at that time? I would say more than just communicated, but impressed upon the applicant.
Through the Chair, Councilor Mazzarolo, yes, staff communicated the intent of the city center area plan and land use designation council's vision for that area, and the applicant ultimately decided to develop the property under the site's existing M1 zoning.
Did the uses between the, sorry.
Yeah, I would characterize it as they were encouraged. It was communicated that it was encouraged because the whole strip of this land was going to go to this new business enterprise. They had the right zoning in place for M1, but they were encouraged to proceed with this business. It was encouraged, but we don't have the ability to force a developer to proceed.
So the OCP, which shows as a future change, is more of a long-term planning tool. So this is the concept that we'd like you to go business enterprise. But because the current zoning was M1 with it, you have certain property rights with under M1. You can go forward with M1. Is that right? Okay. Were the uses changed in M1 between when the OCP was adopted to basically today when they're asking for this change? Did the uses of what was allowed within M1 or allowed within business enterprise, was that amended at all?
Through the Chair, Councilor Mazzarolo, no, the M1 zone was last amended about a decade ago through the Industrial Zones Review Project.
Okay. To build off of Councilor Adams's question, I want to phrase it a little bit differently. I'm getting at a different point here. If you build the building under the current M1, and then you get the CD zone that is being requested here, that has more uses allowed for. The building's built, its size that it is, its number of units that it is. If you were to get the same, if you wanted the same uses under the business enterprise, would the requirement have been to build less units? Or would there be less units involved? So essentially, is there an advantage unit-wise to get more units if you go under the current zoning of the town, you build it within the parking regulations? After the building is built, you're not taking apart a newly built building, that's not going to happen. And then have the zoning change to allow different uses. Is there a difference in what would have been built?
Through the Chair, Councilor Mazzarolo, yes. So the M2 Urban Business Enterprise Zone, which is the corresponding zone in City Center for Business Enterprise, a fundamentally different type of built form. You're looking at more of a multi-story building. You might even have underground parking instead of a surface parking lot. And you have a mix of commercial and industrial uses. So it'd be a different form than what they built with the existing zoning. I'd also note the city center area plan shows a future road extension across this site to extend Aberdeen Avenue, which currently ends at Bond Street, to the west. And had they gone through the rezoning, one of the requirements of that zoning at that time would have been the dedication of the road. But we can't compel that dedication if they're developing under their existing zoning. Although with the change in provincial legislation in 2023, with the new powers of the servicing officer, we do have that ability to acquire road dedication at any phase of development.
Okay, so explain that, so if this was brought forward later, the city would have had the ability, so this is a positive, I guess, from the housing legislation, one of the very few positives out of the housing legislation, that would have been able to require or request from the builder in order to get an extra road dedicated?
Yeah, a 20-meter wide industrial road standard would extend the existing Aberdeen Avenue to the west. It would have gone through sort of the middle of the site. But again, because of that dedication, it would have fundamentally changed the site plan for what they ultimately built.
Why would the road have been that important? Like, I understand you could have received it, or it would have been required. But what for? Like, what was staff's rationale as to why was the road needed?
So it's included in the city center area plan as a future road extension, and it's meant to be the sort of local access road south of Barnett Highway. So in the future, Barnett Highway can focus on through traffic, and then all of the sort of local movements, loading, garbage collection, access to properties can come from an extension of Aberdeen, which is provides a different type of movement. Mr. Bowen may have more information he can provide on sort of staff's vision for what a local road extension will look like.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's going quite well. Was to provide alternatives and keep Barnett Highway functioning in its intended purpose, which is moving traffic. This would provide more for local traffic and could connect further to the west, potentially to future road connections.
Okay, so in that circumstance, I would assume that the site plan would be different. Less units would likely have been built, which is not necessarily a good thing. Is there, within the zoning, no, it's not a good thing, let's be clear about that. Within the zoning, if it would have went, what staff was encouraging, would there have been more flexibility, say, to build up in order to acquire those extra units that you would have lost ground access to, or was this a decision, like what I'm getting at here is, was the applicant presented with a decision, maybe not straightforwardly, that if you change the zoning, there are less units to be built because you can't go up necessarily, or was this an option that, no, you could, it's just it was a choice of what the applicant wanted to do? Is that, I'm not sure if that actually came across.
Yes, it does. The draft E2 zone, as it stands, has a proposed height limit of 12 stories. There is the possibility of going up significantly. But again, a fundamentally different type of building form and project under this enterprise that may not have fit with what the applicant wanted to build. We can certainly get more information from them and include that in the public hearing brief.
So this is going to go to a public hearing?
Should council pass and direct it to go to a public hearing?
If this goes to a public hearing, page 2 of 5, I think needs to be a lot more fleshed out. I would ask for, and I think it would be helpful for council to see the real, what took place here on this development. And the reason I'm saying this is for a couple different reasons. One, I want to see what the advantage was to go through this path for the applicant, as opposed to doing the business enterprise. What did they not have to provide in order to go this route, and what was their advantages here? The second thing that I'm concerned about is, while I very much want to increase our commercial and our office space in the city and our industrial space in the city, I have deep concerns about setting a precedent how this can happen again in the future, where an applicant proceeds under the current zoning, it may not go the way, the market changes, some other factor happens, and then in order to solve the problem, they change the zoning, as opposed to building what was encouraged, potentially. Essentially, a business decision was made, that's fine, people make business decisions all the time. And whether or not the business decision is successful or not is largely outside of the control of anything we do here at the city. It's market forces, it's demand, it's supply, it's you name it, a whole host of factors. So I'm concerned about whether or not this has happened before, so if the city can provide information if this has ever happened before, I think that would help council as well. I would also like to know what are the risks. I think I understand the risk, but if staff can come back and say, this is approved, this is what risks are, this is not approved, this is what risks are. I've spoken long enough here. I will let I know my colleagues, there's a number of my colleagues that have pushed their button and want to speak on this one, but I'll see where my colleagues land on this, but if there is a public hearing, again, there's an opportunity to get more information. If not, I would move to, motion is to go referred back to staff in order to have more information provided at this point in the process. But I'll see what my colleagues have to say on this one. Thank you.
Final tonight, of course, we'll be going to a public hearing if this does receive a positive vote tonight, and there'll be subsequent votes as well. We'll go to Councilor Keane.
Well, I guess I'm pretty challenged myself on this one. I love, the proponent had pushed forward and went through the process of creating the light industrial, but I'm challenged by this next step. A lot of on the basis of what Councilor Mazzarolo was talking about, in trying to understand what this precedent would mean if others would be going forward with a project without a rezoning and coming back later. What pains me on this is that I also believe that we need the businesses that will be in here, and I get challenged in trying to limit our business opportunities and economic development opportunities in our city. But that being said, I'm cautious on the unintended consequences that this might have. I realize that a public hearing would be coming if this is approved, but yeah, I would be open to a referral just to get more information before making additional decisions on this one. Just challenge. Thank you.
You, Councilor Khan.
Just a question for Councilor, I'll be very brief on this. So this is a stratified complex. We have, in addition to zero developer who owns still some of these units, so there are several businesses, older businesses, that are operating there. And I assume they're well aware of this and part of this application to rezone unanimously. Okay. One of the things that would be helpful is just to understand what some of them are trying to achieve in terms of their businesses and what the zoning impacts might be for them, is to just to better understand why this is coming forward. Thanks.
Councilor Marcy.
Great, so again, this gets referred back the other portion of if that's the case. I think what we're hearing is so to my questions is that if there's a gap in the current zoning, then we should address that for the future. But the building was built within what they were allowed to do, M1, and now we're just finding the gap between the M1 and the B1 that would enable that building to be built as is with the parking standard supplied. So that's really what this is coming down to, is just what sort of businesses that we might open up to that would have a similar parking standard and just align the zones. I'm seeing nods from staff. So again, in large part of the space, the industry, the market has changed. When there last time there, I thought that this would be something that I'd be looking to build on a big chunk of land that we got. This is not necessarily high on my list of priorities to build this one time because the market's not there. It's shifted. Greater flexibility. So, again, I appreciate staff's work to get this to something that's workable. Again, no exceptions on the policies around parking. It's just open saying, how do we portray the open for business attitude that we profess to have? I think we support this, get there, recognizing this future work to be done on the M1 itself, and then perhaps the business industrial or business zones that we thought at the outset, which were really first. We didn't know what they were. We thought they might be attractive, like the multi-story industrial that Westville tried down the Greenway. There's still some vacancies there too. Again, it's finding out where the market is. So, again, I think staff, I commend them for coming up with a solution that makes sense with this. This does have my support going forward. My colleagues can't see their way through on that tonight, and want to push it back for greater questions. I don't know that there's a whole lot more to get back. Thanks for your work.
Okay. Good. Mr. Merrill.
Thank you. Yes, so I'm just going to, yes, we'll add more about the history of the site and the differences between the industrial and the business enterprise zoning into the public hearing brief. I just note in terms of the precedent setting side. So, the site, while zoned industrial, is not designated in the OCP for industrial, it's designated as enterprise and is designated general urban under the regional growth strategy. So if there was, say, another industrial site in the city that was designated industrial, both in the regional growth strategy and the OCP, staff would not consider this. It's only because of the unique nature of this site, where business enterprise allows all those same industrial uses that the M1 zone allows, plus a number of commercial uses. So by adding in this limited number of commercial uses, you would actually get the uses on this site closer to council's vision as proposed under business enterprise, which is that mixed industrial, light industrial, business, commercial project. And although the 5 additional uses that were chosen because they have the same parking rate as industrial, and they're not anticipated to cause undue parking challenges on the site. So there was some logic behind working with the applicant and coming up with this mix of uses that brings it closer to kind of the business enterprise vision, even if not in built form.
Okay. Second round speaker, I'll go first. We get it, the public does get frustrated by their perception sometimes, but also the reality sometimes that we approve something because it's what fits and gets the most density, and then we change it because it allows something that needed more parking or needed something else in order to work. And we do that because what was originally built didn't work. And there's a council member here who regularly argues that related to housing, three bedrooms in particular. And I'm starting to understand the frustration that goes with, okay, we're going to go along with this, we're going to approve this, and the developer's going to realize that I can't do this, so I'm going to do this other thing. And we ought to be known as being as consistent as practically possible, but also as flexible as necessary, and this consistent flexibility or whatever.
Trademark it.
Yeah, trademark.
Flexible certainty.
Flexible certainty. So I'm troubled by that, but I'm infinitely more troubled by page 4. 12 of D, notwithstanding subsection 12A, no bicycle parking. So I'm against this further. Just give me a chain somewhere I can put my bike on. Come on, give me something on railing I can lean my bike.
It's got a wall, you know that.
We'll work it out. But we do see, particularly along our flatter corridors, that the e-bike is becoming a game changer, and more and more people will be visiting the services of places like this on a bike, and allowing that bikes to be accommodated, particularly for customers, but because each business can try and figure out where to put the business bike, perhaps, but Mr. Merrill.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. I can confirm that the site does comply with the city's short-term bike parking requirements. So those are the racks available to the public. What staff are proposing to waive is under some of the commercial uses to trigger the requirement for indoor long-term bike parking, as well as the end-of-trip facilities and change rooms and things that don't really work well in this type of project.
Do we not have a minimum size unit on the end-of-trip facility requirement? Because I was in that city, I saw these really unique little modular retail facilities, but under our bylaws, would be required to have showers and water. So I think we might want to be more flexible there, but I will wait to hear what the public hearing has to say, because the mind is open on where we're going to go on there. Councilor Marcy's up there, and Councilor Nuttall. That's correct. So, now Councilor Nuttall.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to be on second time with Mayor Stewart. So, do we know the vacancy rate in industrial currently? You know what, don't worry about that. I'm listening to my colleagues here, and I think there's enough folks here to get this into a public hearing, regardless of the answer to that question. I'd like to know that answer. What's the current vacancy rate for industrial? What was the current vacancy rate for industrial when they submitted their development application? The giant hole in this that I don't understand is that it sounds like the city wanted this to be business enterprise. Otherwise, why would we put it in the OCP? With this current CD zone application, it sounds like, when I read this report, that the applicant wanted to go further with more uses. They wanted it to be business enterprise, because it fits more. So the city wanted business enterprise, the applicant wanted business enterprise, or at least they do now. Why did this not become business enterprise? There was something here, there's some advantage, or there's some aspect, there's some factor that I don't see here that made the applicant go, we're gonna proceed under industrial, and then if it works, great. If it doesn't, I'm assuming that's what they thought, that is only an assumption, we will look to change the zoning later. That doesn't make sense in this report, and that's what I need an answer to. So what factor or factors that stopped an applicant wanting a business enterprise and the city wanting a business enterprise, but it became industrial, and now we're back to business enterprise. And to be blunt, if the answer is the market isn't what we thought it was, that's a business decision. That's very different. But I'm not sure if that is the answer. That's what I would like to know here. So, like I said, whether I motion or not to refer back to staff, I don't think it has the votes. Someone push it out.
Yeah, I was just gonna, just to confirm once for all, the city sought this site to be business enterprise, the applicant chose not to do that. So that's answer number one. The applicant conveyed to us that they need an expanded range of uses to make this site profitable and marketable, that's what they told us. Now, we'll get that information to you.
Can I ask just one question of that? Of the expanded uses, are they included in the business enterprise?
There are a couple of them from business enterprise and a couple from the service commercial.
Okay.
And but these are by no means, like if they went to business enterprise, they'd have far more uses. They only have a couple. There was a curating of the request that we only included a couple of uses from these zones. Now, both of them are pervasive in the area. And by the way, the point was made, we would never amend the N1 zone for this area. The N1 zone is our industrial zone, and whether you go to Fawcett or down by United, that zone is N1. In this area, designations going to go severely different. So that's why we added a couple of uses that would expand the range of uses slightly to the site, only slightly, and only uses that can be accommodated within the parking ratios of the current zone. So we're doing as little as we can. We are worried about the precedent, absolutely. That's why we've done a very, very small addition. We will get the information to you. If this goes to public hearing, we'll get the information on vacancy rate. We'll also get more information from the applicant specifically on what efforts they made to market the units and why they need these additional uses. We can provide that information to the council.
Okay, I'm not going to move to refer back to staff on this one. I think the votes are there to get it to a public hearing, so I think the motion would accomplish anything.
Councilman Mazzolo, should I try to clarify a question you asked last?
Sure.
Because
My apologies.
No, I'm wondering whether this is where you're going. The choice that the applicant had to build either business enterprise per the OCP or what he built. What differences, marketable differences, did he end up with? Did he end up with less parking, slower parking ratio, more floor space? Did he end up with more mezzanine? Did he end up with something tangible by going in a specific direction? Is that part of your question?
Yeah, it's more or less, it's probably phrased better than I did. Is the answer to that is the question is, council and the city clearly wants this to be business enterprise, otherwise it wouldn't be in the OCP. By expanding the uses here in the CD zone to include uses that are in the business enterprise zone, it sounds like, and the applicant is in favor of this, otherwise this wouldn't be brought forward, it sounds like now the applicant wants this closer to a business enterprise zoning. So the question I have is why wasn't the development permit, not permit, but the application made for business enterprise? What was the advantage to go under the industrial zone and then later on to either realize or change your mind, etc., and then try to go get the other uses from business enterprise into the CD zone? That is
For the corollary.
Yeah.
What disadvantage did the business enterprise zone present that made the industrial architecture advantageous, even if business enterprise was going to be the ultimate use, or might be the ultimate?
Point of clarification. It's not all stuff that can be asked and brought forward to the public hearing.
Sorry. These questions, historically, the first reading would be granted with public hearing, and the questions that are being asked here would make up the brief the staff prepared. Is that not correct?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, we're going through a lot of work here that perhaps is just, again, given comment around the table. This is really just the first reading. The chance to hear from the public, and a chance to get the questions the council still has outstanding answers. From a clarification perspective, we could defer to staff. We don't have to have those answers at the fingertips tonight. We can bring it back at a public hearing as part of the brief. Just clarify that.
I wasn't asking a question. I was only clarifying what the question might be, and it was affirmed that that's part of it. Is there an advantage that the architecture of an industrial building gave over a business enterprise building that now someone might be arguing about the best of both worlds?
It's a night of celebration, so we have our most waiting for us up there. This is something very typically come up at the next meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Merrill.
Thank you. Yes, we'll put more of that information in the public hearing brief. I know the applicant is in the room and taking copious notes, and they'll probably add answers to some of those questions to their public hearing presentation. Should this proceed to public hearing? I would note my understanding is it was the road dedication is contemplated in the city's area plan. The site's only is about 110 meters deep. If you subdivided a 20-meter wide road out of that, that takes out a large chunk of their footprint and makes the site planning much more challenging to accommodate the building and the parking under a business enterprise redevelopment.
Thank you for that. I think this is valuable because I think we've fleshed out quite a bit here, questions that a number of council members have with respect to this application. And there is an opportunity for staff to bring the information forward. They don't need to have it at their fingertips right now. And now that you know, because the public hearing is not going to be until 2 or 3 weeks, I believe, from now. So I think there was value in this, and I appreciate the answers that have been provided so far, but there needs to be more in the public hearing. I'm inclined to vote for this in first reading, but I want to make this very clear. I'm reserving my right to vote against it through the public hearing, depending on what the answers are. Because there's an aspect here that is not adding up from what I can see, and I'm hoping that the answer will be provided, depending on what that answer is, at the public hearing. So thank you.
I promise you never have to reserve that right. Okay. We'll pick up something. Councilor Mandel.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Stewart. I'll be quick to say what I'm hearing is that we recommended one. They went 1 year and they get back to the original recommendation. So perhaps in the future, to start, because we are approving land use here, but then if land use has different recommendations, it's difficult for the stakeholder to unanimously come and say, yeah, this is the land use, right? Because there's some gaps in there. But I don't think it's the applicant's fault. It's the way that our zoning, the recommendations and our strategy, all that is coming into play. So I think in the future, for us to make a better decision, it's better to flesh out the other stuff before moving the application. So I just wanted to make that. But I'm in support of moving it to public hearing, and of course providing all the information that is in us for hearings.
Yeah, one thing just to reiterate, for the public hearings I asked earlier on, the difference in the size and percentage of units for buildable space between business enterprise and the M1. I want to know what the cost difference was on the road and road dedication that would have been required under business enterprise. I'd also like to know what the impacts are on Aberdeen and completing Aberdeen without that dedication of land, or is there an impact on creating that roadway through? Is there restrictions or less ability to get that road through and that connection that we were planning in there because we don't have the land to dedicate anymore? So those are some of the things I want coming back to this site. I know, to me, it just feels that when you make a decision, you're a business person making a decision. And that's your role. It's not government or council's role to help make your business work properly. That's not our role. So, but I will let this go through the public hearing. I have a lot of concerns about this and the precedent that it could be setting on this. So I will leave it at that, but I would like that information to help me in my decision making. So I have open mind, but I need that information. Thank you.
Using no other speakers, the question is first reading and public hearing. All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously.
Thank you, Mayor Stewart. The next item on the agenda is the report of General Manager of Community Safety, resolution to appoint new bylaw enforcement officers with the resolutions on screen. Second.
Yes, please order this. Seeing no speakers, the question is appointing some police officers. All in favor? down.
The next item on the agenda is the report of the fire chief, community wildfire resiliency plan, field training update with recommendation on screen.
Recommendation has been moved by Mr. Martin and seconded by Mr. Hawk. Anything?
I didn't plan to bring any introductory comments and your questions. Just here to look.
Here we go. It looks like we're about to pass your report, I was saying.
You got the sale, stop talking.
Yeah.
You learned that early.
I had never seen the basement. All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimous. Thank you.
Very selfish.
Okay, all of you over there, that's how you stop. Put on a uniform.
Next item on the agenda is the report of the general manager, community services, FIFA World Cup 2026, community activations update with a presentation by the manager of tourism and visitor economy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This evening I'm here to share how staff are approaching the FIFA World Cup 2026 and what this means for a once-in-a-generation global event for Coquitlam as matches come to our region from June 12th to July 19th. I will begin with some brief background, then outline the guiding approach staff are proposing, including both neighborhood-based celebrations and city-led viewing events. I will also speak to the intended community impact and the financial considerations associated with these activations. Overall, this evening's presentation is about how Coquitlam can participate in this global moment in a way that feels exciting, inclusive, and appropriate for our community. With the FIFA World Cup tournament schedule now confirmed and planning work advancing, staff are bringing forward a proposal for community activations in Coquitlam, including several public viewing events. The report before council outlines the event concepts, estimated costs, and the operational considerations required to deliver these experiences safely and successfully. The goal is to create opportunities for residents and visitors to come together, share in the excitement of the tournament, and celebrate this global event in a way that reflects Coquitlam's strong community spirit. With Vancouver serving as host city for the FIFA World Cup, staff's focus is on how Coquitlam participates in this global event in a way that reflects our community. The enhanced block party program is central to this approach. It brings the World Cup into neighborhoods across the city, supporting broad participation while allowing city resources to remain focused and scalable. By building on an established and trusted program, residents are empowered to host gatherings around matches meaningful to them, connect with neighbors, and involve nearby businesses. This neighborhood-led model strengthens local connections, reflects Coquitlam's diversity, and allows celebrations to happen organically across the city. In addition to city-led to neighborhood celebrations, staff are proposing a series of 4 city-led viewing events tied to some of the tournament's most significant moments. These events are designed to provide high-quality shared viewing experiences supported by large format screens, professional audio-visual production, and coordinated event operations. Together with the enhanced block party program, this approach creates a 2-pronged model that encourages widespread neighborhood participation while focusing city investment on a small number of well-produced community gatherings. The first event will be our kickoff event at Curtis Perry Stadium and will serve as Coquitlam's official World Cup kickoff. This site is well suited to large sport-focused gatherings and allows predictable operational planning, particularly for high attendance moments such as the tournament kickoff and the final match. Canada's opening match is scheduled for midday and could be against a high-profile opponent such as Italy, creating strong excitement right from the start. This event is envisioned as a citywide, youth and family-focused gathering featuring a large viewing screen, interactive soccer activities on the turf, and food trucks. The city will work with community partners such as Coquitlam Metro 4 on programming and community engagement to support the viewing event. The June 24th watch party at Blue Mountain Park will be our second event and is designed as a more relaxed, neighborhood-focused viewing experience centered on the Canada versus Switzerland match. Residents will be able to enjoy a match in a casual park setting with a large screen and full technical production, while the overall atmosphere remains low-key and social. Food trucks will support lunchtime kickoff, and staff will work with the Austin Heights Business Improvement Association to encourage participation and support nearby businesses. Blue Mountain Park offers a complimentary setting to Percy Perry Stadium. Its open layout is well suited to a midday group stage match, allowing the event to feel vibrant without the level of infrastructure required for larger events. Hosting an event in Austin Heights also helps distribute activity across the city and provides a neighborhood-based viewing experience aligned with the weekday daytime match schedule. World Cup meets Canada Day. World Cup viewing will accompany the Canada Day event with a viewing area located along Trevor Grove Way, leveraging the planned road closure. This activation will offer casual drop-in viewing that complements the broader Coquitlam Celebrates Canada Day festivities. Should Team Canada be playing on July 1st, staff would explore an alternative location due to the anticipated popularity of that match. The Gold Medal Watch, the grand finale at Percy Perry. The World Cup viewing event is planned as the largest and most impactful moment of Coquitlam celebrations. Hosted at Percy Perry Stadium, the event is designed as a festival-style layout. The event will feature 2 coordinated viewing areas, a primary viewing area with 2 large screens, stage and halftime entertainment, and a secondary viewing area supporting youth-focused activities with local soccer clubs. A central spectator plaza will include food trucks, vendors, interactive activities, and photo memory opportunities. The goal is to create a memorable closing celebration where residents can come together to experience the final moments of the tournament. The proposed FIFA activations represent a one-time investment from the city initiatives reserve during the June to July 2026 tournament period. The estimated funding required for the 4 city-led viewing events is $300,000. In total, staff are requesting $325,000 in one-time funding from the city initiatives reserve to deliver these community activations. Staff have also submitted provincial and federal grant applications totaling up to $155,000, which, if successful, would reduce the city's net contribution. Should Canada advance beyond the group stage, demand for public viewing opportunities would likely increase. And to ensure that the city can respond to that opportunity, staff are recommending approval of an additional contingency of up to $100,000 to support an extra watch party if Canada should progress further in the tournament. World Game One Community. To close, this plan delivers a World Cup celebration that is a community-centered, scalable, and distinctly Coquitlam. It balances high shared experiences with neighborhood-level participation, allowing thousands of residents to take part in ways that feel meaningful, safe, and close to home. By focusing city investment on key moments while enabling celebrations to grow organically across neighborhoods, this approach reflects the excitement of the tournament. Staff are confident that this community activations plan will create lasting memories, strengthen neighborhood connections, and position Coquitlam as welcoming and engaged during FIFA World Cup. This concludes the presentation, and I would welcome Council's feedback and any questions you may have, and staff look forward to Council's direction on the requested funding.
Good job. Thank you very much. Moved by Council Morrison, second by Council Tanner. All those in favor? That was unanimously approved. Next item, please.
Thank you, Chair. The next item on the agenda would be adjournment.
Moved by Councilor Mateo, second by Councilor Hodge. All those in favor? Opposed? Nobody opposed? Thank you very much. Next, we have a question period. Anybody in the audience have questions? Anybody have a question? Third time, any more questions? No questions? Thank you very much.